Hey everyone, we really want to encourage you to visit the refinery in Charleston, South Carolina. The refinery is a beautiful mixed-use facility that's home to upscale office space, two restaurants, the Limbo Lounge, and an amphitheater that hosts national, regional, and local acts year-round. We cannot recommend it enough. Go to therefinerychs.com to get event and venue information. You can also go to the site to learn how you can even book the spaces you want for your own event. So go check them out, and thanks. Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name's Devin. I'm joined today with my co-host DJ. How you doing, DJ?
I'm currently trying to figure out how many steps I'd have to take to just go drop in the water right now.
Yeah, because it's right out the door, isn't it?
This is the closest we've been, yeah.
You know why? Because we're at an island.
That's right, yeah.
We're at one of the most iconic restaurants in Charleston, or the Lowcountry. We're at Bowen's Island restaurant today, and we're live, everyone. We're not in studio, so if you hear a little background, that's because it's a fun place. And we are in the Raw Bar with Hope. How you doing, Hope?
Hi, good to see y'all today.
So excited to be here. This is a long time coming for us.
It really is. You know, when we started the podcast a couple of years ago, this was one of the things on the top of the list to get on.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure to have you out here. And of course, this year we're actually celebrating our 80th anniversary as the longest continuing running restaurant in Charleston.
That is amazing.
So that's got to be the record. I mean, there's nothing that can
Nope.
touch that.
Yeah, continuously running, folks. So for sure. So my great-grandmother started it back in 1946. So on this little 13-acre island that we're sitting on right now. So.
Right. So Hope, you grew up in the family, the restaurant business, how many ever decades of that?
So I'm actually the fourth generation, and I have two adult children, daughters, who are both involved in the business. So they're the fifth, as well as other family members too. So yes, so I grew up out here on Bowens and have lived out here for most of my life, a couple stints in North Carolina, and then went to law school and in Columbia and all that. But then obviously came back here, and after being a lawyer and teaching school, came back to help my dad run the restaurant.
Wow, that's pretty interesting that you went from lawyering and teaching and all that and came back home. And it's kind of cool to see families do that, coming back to the roost.
Coming back to the restaurant, though, 80 years, it's been through everything from Hugo to COVID to everything you can think of.
Yeah, Gracie, all those storms.
Right.
And you said that, so we are at Bowen's Island, and it's just right outside of Folly Beach. And you said Bowen's is how many acres?
It is 13 acres.
Okay, so that's not a ton.
No, it's actually a small island. And when my great-grandmother purchased it back in 1946, she purchased it for $3,900.
Wow.
But at the time, the road that y'all drove down to get here, the causeway that we call it, was not here. So you had to wait until it was high tide and then and had to row out here.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and it was Sarah May's second husband at the time, and it was right after World War II, and most people were buying their houses in subdivisions and whatnot. So I think she said, "I bought an island," and he said, "You did what?" He said, "Can you get your money back?" And she goes, "I don't want my money back," but.
It was a good investment.
It turned out to be, so yeah.
But speaking of the road, we were amazed by just the amount of growth that's come out here, just down the road.
Yeah, I hadn't been out to Folly, this area, in a while, live in Park Circle, and kind of end up staying around there. So
Right.
And it's actually surprising how many houses you have on the island now.
Right. So all of the houses that are currently on the island, except for two, are still owned by family members.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so the development at the end of the road is not that property was not owned by my great grandmother or anything like that. But fortunately, so my parents have lived out here since '83, and as have I. So, but fortunately now I have an aunt and uncle who live out here, as well as another aunt and cousins. So.
Okay, cool. So when they first bought Bowen's Island,
Right.
was the intention basically this is where we're going to live, and then the restaurant thought came another
Yes.
time? Okay.
It sure did. It sure did. So May was she actually was a beautician, I guess,
Okay.
by trade. And when my grandfather was in the Navy during World War II, she invested a lot in property because having grown up in the Depression. So she owned a lot of property out on Folly and opened a restaurant called Bob's Lunch. And so when he came home from World War II, that was his business. And so she bought this island afterwards. And so he and my grandmother ran Bob's Lunch while he went to the Citadel and got his business degree. And so anyway, she lived out here and had a fishing pier that she's owned for a long time. And so I think a lot of fishermen would come and say, she's the only woman out here. They would say, well, can you cook this up for me?
Yeah.
And I think at one point she goes, well, I'm kind of dumb if I just sit here and do this for free. So, so she was very entrepreneurial, like in spirit, I think, because she did own a lot of property and was a landlord and that kind of thing. And then, like I said, had been a beautician as well. And her mom owned an antique shop as well. So.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, so the business was in the
yes, the entrepreneurial
DNA.
spirit. The restaurant part, I think, kind of came afterwards.
I love that though. So has the menu changed since like the beginning?
It's actually, if you look at the book that I have in front of you, I think that probably has, and I know on our Instagram we have some pictures of the original menu that was like a Budweiser board that you could change the little slide-in numbers. And I think the fish and shrimp platter used to be like $3.25. Yes, prices have definitely changed, but I was going to say. But the basics of our menu have definitely sort of remained the same. We've done some major additions. I would say that probably the most major change is with the growth of oyster farms in the area.
Right.
For the first time, we offer raw oysters, and so that was a new thing. Also, as somebody who grew up in the Lowcountry, I only ate roasted oysters. I'd never eaten raw oysters.
Roasted clusters, man. That's what I grew up on.
Yep, and so I'd never eaten raw oysters, and so. Yeah, as you said, we're sitting in the raw bar, so this place has only been open for a little while.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, I guess it's hard, starting off. I'm sure that flounder, whiting, shrimp, that's pretty much, what was around here.
Yeah, exactly, and so those basics are still on the menu, and it's funny because I was going through some memorabilia and stuff for the Folly Beach Museum, and there's a thing that it's Bowen's Island, and they would serve. They would do a local oyster roast till 12 a.m. So they would roast oysters till 12 a.m. out here. And
That's amazing.
And I do like to kind of claim us as like the first place that ever did like the oyster roast sort of in a non-familial setting, But
yeah, you're right. Because I mean, the Lowcountry, you can't swing a dead cat on a weekend without an oyster roast in somebody's yard, backyard,
100%
vacant lot.
I mean, it also must be nice, talking about source, if someone asks you where your seafood's from, literally just pointing outside the
exactly. I was
right
gonna
off
say
the river,
right out that way. Actually, one of the favorite things during wild oyster season around here is when our harvesters come in and they wash out on the pad out there in the afternoons. And so you really do get to see your oysters come in from the boat.
That's
they get
amazing.
washed and they go into the cooler or ready to be steamed. So
farm to table.
or river to table.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
So this does bring up kind of important question. How do you eat your oyster? Do you eat it with the
hot sauce?
Are you more of like a cocktail?
I was going to say I prefer if it's one of our good wild local oysters. I just like it like lightly steamed. I say like very rare. Yeah. And really, that's all you need. But I do love, some of the mignonettes.
Do you like more
sauces.
of like the salty or like
I like the salty.
Okay,
definitely.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
And I was going to say, I don't know if y'all have tried any of the like local farms or how familiar y'all are with that process at all.
Yeah, I guess we've seen in other rrestaurants some of the cups or some of the locals that are coming out of here.
So we partner with Charleston Oyster Farm, and they have what we call perky sea cups.
I've had those.
I've heard of those.
And so they're awesome. But like I said, their same area is where we harvest ours. And I was going to say it's the closest thing to like a wild oyster that I've ever gotten.
Absolutely. I think we kind of beat the punch. Bowen's Island, when I was growing up here, and still, was always known as the place to go get clusters, get oysters, all you can eat, can of beer, whatever. And that brings up the whole oyster talk and, what's local. And, there's a certain, I guess, salinity or a certain minerality.
Minerality.
Yeah, let's go with that one. So, I mean, what identifies the Lowcountry oysters, and how far do you have to go out of Charleston to start tasting differences in oysters?
I mean, I think that you actually can taste the difference in oysters between like what gets harvest, like where we talk about ours are over on King's
Just off
Flat,
different coasts,
which is like literally steps away versus like what you might get like even out toward in Kiowa, like towards the Stono. And it just, so I think the salinity and just
it's
obviously
crazy
how much
the
water
soil
moves
can make the
in it.
difference. Yeah.
So it's like, I think, yes, with grapes and wine, and people talk about the miroir. And so miroir is what they call it with oysters.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't usually think about saltiness and just, and somebody asked me, what does an oyster taste like? And I said, it tastes like a gulp of salt water from the ocean. And I mean that in the best possible way. And somebody was like, really? You said that? I was like, as a quote, I was like, yeah, I don't know what else to say. But it was true.
But it really is. And I think that's a good representation of what they really are. And then, of course, the restaurant, as DJ said, it seems like the menu is going to stay pretty consistent from the original.
Right.
You added the raw bar. Over the years, have you had any other endeavor that, maybe didn't work that well, or do y'all not go out on a limb too much?
I was gonna say we like to definitely respect our past and the roots and the things that came. But while at the same time, I think recognizing that times change and people change and that kind of thing. And so, like I said, adding the raw bar was definitely one of those things that has been something, and I can kind of talk more about the positive expansions in some ways, because I was gonna say I know definitely when we moved into this restaurant after the fire in 2010, we had like 16, which I think is still 16 lines on our draft system, and it was all local beers. And that was at a time really when craft beers, this was what, 26 years ago?
Yeah, 2010. Wow.
Yeah. So, or no.
Or
16 years ago.
Okay.
16 years ago.
No, sorry. Nobody does math on this podcast.
Right. Thank you. I was an English major and I was a lawyer too. But anyway, so, but that long, but definitely sort of as the beer scene was coming out here, and like Palmetto was like one of the very new breweries. Palmetto and Holy City were one of the very few that were out here.
Right.
So that's been something that like we expanded upon, that I think, I kind of like think about my great grandmother and like, what would she think about some of these things? And, and I think she would be stunned that somebody would pay $8 for a cup of beer.
I know.
I mean, talking about changes though, I feel like when we're talking about this as a restaurant, but when we drove up, it seemed more like a town than a restaurant. You've got like 8 different buildings. You got the Rock House. You've got the kayaks and all that stuff. You got the giant restaurant. Yeah. It's almost like a small town.
Yeah, or a community, or it is. I like that, and it's all here. And I mean, you guys, you have such a history with, we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff, but I was looking at the book that we are looking at, the Bowen's Island Restaurant full color book. Why don't you tell us about that?
So that book I want to say came out about 2010 or 11. And really, William Bowen from up near McClellanville helped us put it together and kind of did interviews and stuff. So two great interviews with my grandparents, that was May Bowen's son and daughter-in-law, who are now deceased, and my parents as well, but sort of and also recollections from other people who lived on the island and knew them. And I kind of laugh because you talk about being a town. If it's a town now, I guess it was the Wild West back in the day growing up, because whenever Duck Dynasty was out, she goes, if those people can have a TV show, they can certainly film a fun show about us.
Yeah.
Great point.
So, yeah.
So the book, did that come out before the last fire, or?
It came out after the fire.
Okay, so it has
and it's
flavor
funny,
of all of it.
Definitely. And so we were able to, one of the things that we lost in the fire for sure was we used to have these stacks of spiral bound notebooks that people would just sit down and write. Either they would sign their name, they would write a poem or a song or whatever.
Oh, what a loss.
And would have stacks of those that we lost. And then also some like pictures and like business cards that people would leave. But fortunately, my dad had a lot of the original photographs and things that we've been able to hold on to, which are focused, which are featured in the book. But when I talk about like sort of the restaurant and like kind of what happened, 2006 was a very pivotal year for us because in March of that year, we actually earned the James Beard Award for America's Classic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So a little known fact, but and actually on the back of the book, if you that picture of my dad right there, and he's wearing his white shrimp boots.
Yeah, he is.
So
that's too cool.
So that happened right after Hurricane Katrina and right after one of our sort of original oyster men had passed away. And so he accepted the award and he said, basically that he thought of us as being stewards of the land and the waterways and that and those from that perspective, like, we represent all the people who came sort of before us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
which
that's
I think is kind of a cool thing. So we got the James Beard Award, and then unfortunately we had the fire in that following October.
Right.
And so I say that was sort of it was a pivotal year because we got that had something so wonderful happen, and then something so tragic, and then it took us about 4 years to rebuild after that. But at the same time, we got a lot of sort of national attention from the James Beard thing.
Right.
So we got I think we had Adam Richmond came out here and
oh, wow.
he asked my dad, how do you like your oysters? And my dad, I like them hot and wet. And Adam Richmond goes, sir, this is a family show.
That's hilarious.
But
anyway. Going through all that, the fire, the James Beard Award, highs and lows, that's got to show the fortitude with the family to even bother building again. Was there ever a question that you would build again?
I think it was, I don't know that it was, certainly the question came up. I don't know that it was like really debated that long.
Right.
Okay.
I think my dad certainly felt, as I do, that we were left with a very important legacy and sort of tradition to want to carry on and that kind of thing. Although, and the really cool thing I sort of see from that is sort of what my great grandmother had started, and then sort of what my dad has done with the business since then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you owe it to the family and owe it to Charleston and to us actually, because we like eating.
That's awesome.
So I guess, going back to the location, y'all still have the dock. Y'all still do dock pull-ups as well for the restaurant?
We do. We have a couple. So you mentioned the kayak business. So that's actually called Charleston Outdoor Adventures, and it's owned by Captain Joe Lotz, and he does kayak tours and tours of Morris Island and all of that kind of stuff, operated out of here. And we work very well, like sort of a tandem business side by side. But yes, we do. We have a couple of floating docks, and our plan actually is to add 2 more this summer. So you're welcome to pull your boat up and come up and have some food as well. And also kind of what goes on out at the dock house out there, as you'll see in a few minutes. We have some outdoor venue spaces, so we host a lot of parties and weddings.
Oh,
and,
that
makes sense.
Yeah, because Charleston loves a destination wedding.
They sure do.
This is a perfect place for that. I guess, these days well, hell, y'all been doing a business for a million years. So, I mean, you have to roll with whatever the flavor of the decade is or whatever. So doing events and weddings and stuff. But have y'all been doing events?
I was going to say, we've done those since probably 1996.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so decent amount of time.
Yeah, you might as well. You got the space. It's such an iconic place. And that's actually one of my favorite parts. It's fun to host people coming out here. And it's, when you talk about traditions and things like that, it's really special to be part of like people's really special days like weddings and stuff like that. But also we get that from families and so forth that come back generation after generation to Folly Beach for their like beach vacation. So we get that at the restaurant as well. So that's like one of my favorite parts of being in business.
Also can't emphasize this enough. You can't get a better view.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we actually,
we're
voted by all our readers of the Charleston City paper as best waterfront dining restaurant this year.
Amazing.
Oh, so you got the city paper this year, the best waterfront.
Yeah, and we were runner-up for best oysters, but we have lots of competition.
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah, I guess you do. Does anybody ever come up with speaking of events or, special events, does anybody ever come up with an idea and you're like,
listen, honey, you gotta pump the brakes on that. You know, so, you know, we'd like to sail a 3-mast schooner up
we
here.
would like
you
to
know.
we would like to stand up on kayaks.
We've had a bunch of people. We've had people come up in some like boats that were like way too large, and you kind of want to say maybe you have a lot more money than sense to try to bring a boat that large down this little creek and all that kind of stuff. But I was gonna say, but it's interesting because like over the years, like and we've done some kind of great events that have definitely been somewhat memorable. Like we several years ago rented out the whole venue for a group of cattlemen from Texas.
Okay. Really?
We had 500 cattlemen were out here. And so we gave it's definitely surf and turf. So they had all the oysters and like seafood they wanted, but plus they brought in their own beef. We didn't provide that.
Did you have to teach them how to eat like a shrimp properly, like how to peel and everything?
We do. I mean, and you know, that's one of the, actually that we were talking about oysters and so forth. And one of the really cool things that I enjoy, like, when people come from out of town or even people from here, like, you know, kind of educating them about oysters and seafood and like just what an important part of our ecosystem oysters are. And like the fact that like we have oyster farms now because they started up in New York years ago because of pollution.
Okay.
So let's say I'm a guy from the West. I'm coming in. I've never had really like authentic seafood.
Sure.
I want to kind of dip my toe in without going like crazy. What would your like recommendation be for your restaurant?
Okay, for your menu choices, I would probably I would start you out probably with some fried green tomatoes because we do those and we actually make our own.
Right.
Okay. They're really good. And we also make our own crab dip. But I tend to suggest either the seafood platter or the Frogmore Stew.
Gotcha. Of course. Yeah.
So I don't know, Frogmore Stew, y'all familiar with that?
Yes, it does not get any more Charleston than that.
Yeah, and by the way, God bless you for still calling it Frogmore, which is what we grew up calling it. And then the Yankees started calling it Lowcountry Boil. So.
Did you years did they put like newspaper down on the table?
Yeah, it used to be just...
The DHEC doesn't let us do that anymore.
It was,
they frown upon that.
Yeah, we didn't do platters and all that stuff back in the day.
I was going to say, because we used to actually do like, I mean, I remember my parents saving newspapers and we would stack up the newspapers for use in the oyster room.
Yeah.
Because you put that down and then you just fold them up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, after everything steams, just throw it out there. Yeah. And so that sounds like a good thing. How about, do you have training wheels for oyster shucking?
We actually do. I was going to say, so if you come into the raw bar, I was going to say your oysters obviously get shucked for you.
Right.
But during wild oyster season in the oyster room, so I don't know, are you familiar with how the oyster room used to run?
No.
Back in the day. So when my great grandmother, apparently when she used to do oysters, the only way you could do them was all you could eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was like you could come in and there could be 12 people who wanted to eat oysters and one person who didn't. And that person had to sit in the dining room.
Yeah, I remember Bowen, like in the 80s or something.
Oh, yes.
And that was it.
Yep. So because she got burned one time because she caught some lady sneaking something off of her husband's plate. She was like, nope, not happened to me again. But anyway, so we certainly have slacked off on that and we really do them by the tray probably more often.
Yeah.
But so our oyster guys will ask you how you like them steamed.
Yeah.
So like, and I kind of tell people, think about a steak. Like, do you like them popped open where they're easy to eat and they're kind of like not so juicy versus like you have to work for them a little bit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so yes, and we'll actually show you how to do it. Like, here's the hinge.
Yeah.
You hold it with the towel this way.
Perfect. I was wondering about that because I'm sure there's someone that's not used to eating oysters. And this could be like if I ate something in another part of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That you might be hesitant to even try it because I don't want to, tear my jugular in half or something.
Exactly. And it I was going to say, back in the day before we actually had the raw bar and that kind of thing, it was definitely not what everybody expected from like, I want an order of oysters.
Yeah.
So what kind of staff are you carrying here? And do you have to surge during in season or?
So we run probably, I'd say 25-ish staff members, and yeah, we definitely pick up more people during the summertime, but it actually works out well because we have a good solid crew of kids from like James Island High School and local schools, and they come back during college and they'll pick up shifts, and that's kind of awesome because I've actually, having been a teacher back in the day, sort of get to share a little bit of that experience and watch them graduate and go off to college and that kind of
there's
thing.
a lot of authenticity though when you get a lot of locals working at your restaurant too.
Yeah.
Because if a tourist comes in, they know the answers to a lot of like questions about
Yeah, and if they're coming back, there must be something about that because the restaurant industry is tough. There's front of house, back of house. There's all these dynamics and stuff. A lot of people go to college to not work in restaurants anymore. But you have people that are coming back on their breaks.
Exactly. And then actually kind of, and you said that we're kind of like a town, and we always call it the Bowen's Island family, and I really feel that very strongly, like just sort of from my great grandmother and my dad, and just family sort of going, and really feel that very strongly about my employees as well. And because and you said the restaurant industry has a huge rate of turnover. People who've been here for 10 plus years.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, that's a testament to the place. I mean, everybody knows Bowen's Island as the traditional, long-standing Charleston place. And now to hear that there's so much of the family and that kind of flavor that's built into it, no pun intended.
There you go.
That's pretty amazing. Oh, God, I forgot to ask this. Oyster season. Yeah. So the all-you-can-eat local clusters. Yep. When do y'all run that? I saw that you finished them off in May 5th, I think.
Right. And so usually, the traditional lures like the R months. So DNR and DHAC kind of tell us when we can do that. And typically they've started the season off at the very beginning of October these days. And they typically run it through the end of May, but it's just kind of warm at the end of in May. And we found that like the demand kind of tapers off then. So we usually stop our harvesting about the end of April. And then we have a period of time where you see the big pile of shells that's over there.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody always wants to pick up oyster shells and make crafts and stuff. And that's always fun. But I have to tell people that actually like a big part of what we have to do sort of as stewards of the oyster beds and all of that is go back and based on however many bushels we've harvested over that season, we go back and replant the shells.
Yeah, it's about recycling,
oyster recycling and that kind of thing. So that's, but so we're off of that season right now. And you mentioned the all you can eat, and that's definitely something that we've been known for, but something that in the past couple of years has been, in top of mind for us in terms of conservation and also
absolutely, that's great.
Pricing and kind of thing.
Well, it's good. It's good that it goes in seasons, and that gives the oyster community or whatever the hell you call it.
It is basically time for them to
come back.
Yeah, because it's during their spawning season.
Yeah, they need an off season.
I think an oyster community is called a bushel.
Oh yeah,
it is, or a cluster.
Cluster. Yeah.
The best oyster community is in my stomach.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, this has been great. What do y'all have planned up ahead? Anything new?
I was gonna say we've done a couple of interesting events with outfit called Grooving Violations. So we've done some EDM music events out here on Sundays. So I think,
oh my gosh.
Oh, yep. And so we post that on our social media. So you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all of those things. But so that's kind of a new thing and fun to have those folks out here. We're doing another event on October the 4th with Southern Flavor Magazine. We're hosting an oyster roast.
Right on.
I think it's called Flavor Fest.
We definitely got to get some tickets.
Oh, yeah.
So Southern Flavor Magazine. So, and then I think we're also working on like a girls' day kind of Pilates thing. So
very cool.
Yeah.
The last thing that I would have ever thought.
Pilates on the pier.
EDM at Bowen's Island.
Oh, it's a thing.
That sounds like that I've got to come.
Sounds amazing, yeah.
That's fantastic.
You just let me know. I can get you a ticket. No, the tickets actually they sell out within like.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Oh no, and my wife is going to be all over that.
Do a lot of the families come as well?
don't know that it's a family.
If they were eating,
I was
if
gonna
they were
say,
eating.
I meant like you're like the Bowens family.
the Bowens family.
Yes.
Yes. My staff loves to come to these
Okay.
events. Loves to
Sure.
either work them. So yeah, we usually have some good food vendors, and we out here for that.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go ahead and close it up. Hope, can you let us know how we can find you and what's your social media presence?
Yes, so I was going to say you can find us at Bowen's Island Restaurant on Instagram and at Bowen's Island on Facebook and bowensisland.com for our website.
All right, right on. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
It has been a pleasure to have y'all out
Oh,
here.
we're so glad you had it. I tell you, we're going to spin off right now and go get a beer and something.
Yeah.
So for Hope, Bowen's Island, the Shrimp City Report, that's our show for the week, folks, and we will see y'all soon. God bless.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers.